Hi there, welcome to another video of The Confrontier. Glad you're watching. This time we'll be talking about insecurity. Well, actually that means I will be talking about that, and I feel secure enough to be doing this as a monologue. Now, first off, I think it's important to realize that insecurity in itself is not necessarily a bad thing, even though we often see it as such. And I think that is because usually the word is used when we talk about overbearing insecurity or hurtful insecurity or insecurity that makes people find some difficulties in how to live their life. However, if we look at insecurity in itself, in what I could say, what I could call a normal, healthy type of insecurity, it is something that helps us reflect upon ourselves, and it is something that helps us have a look at how we are perceived by others, and whether or not that is a view that others have of us that we like, and which will allow us to improve upon ourselves if we actually have a good look at what makes us insecure. That means that actually insecurity allows us to be our better selves, to improve upon ourselves. But my video this time will be more about how to deal with insecurity you have, and not so much about what it allows us to improve upon ourselves. That's something from another video. It is of course perfectly normal to have feelings of insecurity, I think. Actually, it would be worse if you never felt insecure at all. Insecurity is, in a part, our way to reflect upon ourselves, as I said. But dealing with insecurity is not very pleasant usually, because feeling insecure is a very unpleasant, negative feeling, especially when you deal with it in the wrong way. Now, what happens is that usually people feel insecure because they feel they do not live up to other people's expectations. They do not live up to their own expectations. And because they feel they are lacking in some way compared to others, and compared to their own perceptions of themselves. So, for example, you might feel that you should be better at, say, your work, or at your schoolwork, or at mastering a subject, or at mastering a certain skill. And the fact that you can't do it as well as you should makes you insecure. Or you feel that your looks are not up to scratch, that you are not, well, attractive enough, or that you're not smart enough, or that you're not funny enough even, or any other thing that you might feel you are lacking in. And first of all, I think it's important to realize that when you focus upon those things, it only makes you more insecure. On the other hand, actually looking at something that makes you insecure and having a look at how to better yourself, how to improve yourself regarding that thing that makes you insecure can of course help you too. In fact, I'd say that the very thing that you work on something is something that can help alleviate that insecurity. However, that only works if you're realistic about it. So, for example, imagine that you consider yourself pretty bad at, well, say, singing, and you do not actually have the skills or the talent in you to be a good singer. You could practice all you want and perhaps get more secure about, feel more secure about yourself. But it wouldn't be realistic to think that even with practice you could ever become a good singer. Now, realizing that you're lacking in one sort of way or another is healthy too, because you can't be perfect. It's not possible. And in fact, when you feel you're not that good at something that you like, the main thing to do is actually just enjoying yourself. When you realize that you are not actually that good at something that you want to be good at, but that you enjoy, the main thing is to just enjoy it and to at least give it your all. That way you can at least feel positive about the way you deal with it. And it can help you convince others of at least the fact that you're doing the best you can. My experience in acting, for example, is this. It's better to sing false notes and do so confidently than to sing false notes and do so insecurely, because then you will certainly not convince others of the fact that you're doing what you can and that you're giving it your all. It's better that people say, well, he really can't do it, but at least he or she has a certain style to it. He or she brings something to the table just by going so hard at it. Then when they say, well, this person sucks at what he or she is doing, and he doesn't seem to feel confident about it at all, or she doesn't feel their heart is in it anyway, because then you actually emphasize the fact that you're not good at something. But if you actually, well, trust in yourself, if you actually believe in yourself, you can also convince others. That's a bit of a tangent though, because I want to go in a different direction with this video. I'll continue on the main track now. Something that I think a lot of people do wrong, do incorrectly when they're dealing with insecurity is to emphasize themselves too much, in the sense that they want to scream louder over their insecurities by making themselves, well, visually big, or by wanting to be loud, or wanting to have stuff that makes them feel better about themselves. Well, it doesn't actually improve upon their main condition of feeling insecure at all. So the prime example you could think of is, of course, people who buy well, flashy cars, or talk loudly, or are always overbearing, or want to cut others down just to feel better about themselves. Those people are the worst, and those people are actually pathetic. They are. So never feel that you are worse than a person who does that, because that person is not just feeling insecure, which is not bad in itself, but is actually doing all the wrong things to try and remove that feeling, which they can't. In my mother's tongue, there's a saying that goes like this: Holle vaten klinken het hardst. In English, that would mean hollow kegs resonate the loudest. So what does that mean? Well, you should imagine a keg of beer, or for wine, or whatever, that is actually empty. And you should imagine yourself talking into it, or shouting into it. Well, as you can imagine, your sound will echo off the walls of the keg, of the sides of the keg, and it will sound really loud, because of course the sound gets emphasized, it resonates, it bounces off the keg's walls, and therefore sounds loudest. However, if you do the same with a keg that is full, and I'd advise you not to do it with a keg that's lying down and is full, you would get splashed by wine or beer or whatever. Do it with a keg that's upside up, right side up, if you insist. And mostly I'd say don't do it at all. But anyways, if you shout into a keg that is full, you will not get the resonance at all, because of course the wine, the beer, or whatever is in there will absorb the sound and will not allow the walls to bounce the sounds off as in a hollow keg. But for people, it's more or less the same. The kegs who are hollow, the ones that have the least in them, tend to sound the loudest. It's of course connected to the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people who know least about a subject tend to be the ones that talk about it the most confidently and the loudest. And that is also how it works with people who try to remove their insecurity by being overbearing, by being loud, by wanting to be big. You know those people. In the streets, those are the people who need to drive loud vehicles, or who need to honk their horns really loudly, or people who want to attack others the entire time. It's just to fill their own feelings of hollow insecurity. Connected to that, and thus lots of people feel better when they waltz over others, because it makes them feel big, it makes them feel strong, it makes them feel powerful. Far too many people feel small, feel weak, feel insecure, and try to remove those feelings by waltzing right over others, by being mean to them, by actually attacking them verbally or physically, by being overbearing, by putting them down verbally, by emphasizing other people's insecurity through mean attacks, all just to compensate for their own feelings of not being worthwhile. That, of course, is even worse than trying to overcome your feelings of insecurity by being loud and big and so on, because then you actually actively hurt others, which is never a sign of strength. It's a sign of moral weakness. I think, and I've said this before, that we live in a society where we are often made to feel insecure. All commercials, all advertisements and so on are trying to make us feel insecure so that we buy products. So advertisements make you feel that you're unsafe, that you're bad looking, that you smell bad, that you look bad, that you dress bad, that you do not have the stuff that you need in order to be a good or worthwhile person, and so on. Now, those advertisements, and basically it's all of them, try to emphasize the fact that there are things that you feel insecure about and which you feel you are lacking. And one of the ways to just to be better at avoiding such things is also to avoid advertisements. Now that's very, very difficult because they're everywhere. We think it's very normal, just like a fish thinks it's normal to swim in waters to the point that the fish doesn't realize it's swimming in water. And living in a capitalist society, we don't often realize the fact that we are also swimming in a lake or a sea or what have you, full of advertisements that make us feel insecure. But we are. Now, avoiding such things is totally impossible. Probably you've got multiple advertisements on your screen whilst you are watching or listening to this. Probably you'll see hundreds of advertisements and commercials and so on whenever you switch on your phone, or when you walk in the street, or when you go somewhere, and so on and so on and so on. Now realize that all those commercials thus are made to make you feel insecure, and realize that consuming more of it will probably, I'm not entirely sure about this, but will probably make you feel insecure. That will also reveal the wisdom of trying to avoid them as much as possible. But as I said, that's difficult. So I think it's important that you think of ways to deal with all those. Now, of course, avoiding commercials and advertisements and so on in total is, alas, impossible, unless you totally live like a hermit, which will not be possible, and which you will probably not want to do anyway. So if you can't avoid it, you'll have to deal with it. So I think it works for me at least, and it might work for you too, is to just laugh at those commercials. Try to look at the absurdity of them. Try to see through the tricks that the commercial wants to play on you. See through the strategy that the makers of the advertisement or the commercials employ in order to make you want to buy their products. And when you realize what's happening, you'll also find it easier to inoculate yourself from it. It's the same sort of strategy that will help you to avoid peer pressure. And I've touched that subject before, but I think I want to touch it in another video. So that will be for another time. But dealing with your insecurity is also about dealing with external factors that influence it. So try to deal with those external factors by realizing what they are, how they work, and that you should not take them seriously. I can promise you that with practice you'll get better at avoiding those things, even if it's not possible, to inoculate yourself from them completely. Now, not everything that makes us feel insecure is external, of course. Lots of them are internal factors that are influenced by external ones. So, for example, you might feel insecure about your looks, which is an internal insecurity, but what others say, what commercials say, what advertisements tell you, and so on, are external factors that will feed into that insecurity if you let them. So, dealing with that can be about certain mental tricks you can perform, like I said before. So, trying to have thoughts that inoculate you from those insecure-making thoughts, both internally and externally. But there's also the ever important thing about being confident about yourself, about self-love, you could say. I don't like that term, but I think there's a lot of truth in it. So, liking yourself as you are and actually embracing whatever makes you feel insecure, whatever isn't so great about you, but which you can at least deal with. Weaponizing it even can make you a better person, but it can also make you it can also help you deal with those things that make you insecure, both internally and externally. Keep in mind that society, in whatever form, everyone and everything around us actually shape a certain mold that people feel they need to fit into. So imagine you've got the shape of a person, more or less, and you might feel you have to fit that shape. In a sense, and to a certain extent, you do. So being a part of society means you'll have to perform certain behaviors, means you'll have to follow certain rules, means you'll have to deal with others in acceptable ways. Of course, those limits are there, and those are important limits, because to a large extent, those are what allow us to function, both as an individual and as a member of society. However, there are also many, many boundaries that the mold gives us that are not beneficial to us at all. Those are the ones that are created by all the people and all the other external factors that make us feel bad about ourselves. And those are the ones that you should try to break. So imagine this mold. The mold tries to make you into a certain person, tries to make you fit into expectations that will mostly benefit others, either financially or emotionally or psychologically or what have you. But dealing with the mold means that you shouldn't just allow it to make you, but you should also allow yourself to break the mold. What do I mean by that? By that I mean that it's important to keep in mind that certain parts of the mold are those that make us behave well as an individual, as a member of society, whereas others are imposed upon us by ourselves or others, but are not beneficial to us at all. If you only try to fit the mold, you'll always be forcing yourself into knots. You'll be forcing yourself into a shape that doesn't fit you entirely or comfortably. But if you actually allow the mold to fit around you, you are not actually making yourself fit the mold, but you are breaking it. By breaking the mold, I mean that you should be yourself, that you should love yourself as you are, that you should improve upon the things about yourself that are worth improving on and which make you a better person, not according to commercial expectations, not according to the expectations of people that are toxic or otherwise, not actually improving you at all if you take them seriously, and by letting society and others more or less shape themselves around you instead of the other way around. It also follows closely from being authentic, which I talked about in another video. So, plain and sane, my message in this video about insecurity is this. Realize that external factors are making you feel insecure to a certain extent. Realize that you will feel better about yourself if you actually are confident about yourself. Realize that there are things that make you feel insecure that you can't do much about at all, but which you can deal with. And realize that many things that make us feel insecure are externally imposed upon us, and that you can actually inoculate yourself from them by realizing what they are doing. And most of all, it's just important that you are proud of yourself, that you want to be a better person, that you try to work on the things that you can actually work on and that are worth working on, and that you do not let other people's expectations lead you to where you want to be. Think of things that make you actually feel better about yourself and try to act upon those, and that will make you that will help you deal with those insecurities. Once again, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. So if you feel my advice and my sayings are worth it to you, subscribe please, and do let others know about these videos too if you think they're important and worthwhile. Thank you.